Welcome to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer, a show full of tips and practical strategies to repair, rebuild, and strengthen your relationship. If you are currently stuck wondering if your marriage can be saved, or you know you want to save it but don't know how to go about changing it, this show is for you. And now here is your host, Nicola Beer, who specializes in a proven 10-step program to help couples increase their love, passion, and happiness in their marriage in 30 days or less, guaranteed.
Hi and welcome, this is Nicola Beer and I'm so happy you're here with me because I'm going to be sharing with you today what to do if your loved one has an eating disorder. In the previous episode I talked about the different types of eating disorders and the signs of eating disorders, and this episode is going to be purely focused on what to do and, more importantly, how to speak to them. Barbara was a lady who came to me for marriage counselling in Dubai with her husband. They were working on clearing resentment and actions to bring them closer together. They told me that they had an issue with communication. I discovered after delivering my couple communication training that they didn't really have that many communication problems. What they lacked was time to communicate and connect. So one thing I suggested was having meal times together to chat and share the cooking and dishes, or to go out and eat and talk. Barbara smiled and said yes, maybe they could try that. Then her husband Dan said this was not possible. He said that Barbara had to prepare all of her own meals exactly the way she wanted it, that she wouldn't eat out in any restaurant because she had to control the food that she ate. Restaurant food was not healthy enough for her. She said, yes, it's true, I won't eat out. You know how much I don't like salt, oil, and the crap they put into your food. Okay, no problem, I said. What about cooking together? Sharing meals? Well, I eat the same dish every day, Barbara said. And Dan wouldn't want to eat it, let alone eat it every day. Barbara had been eating the same safe food for years and years to stay ultra slim and fit. She didn't want to give up her control of food for anything. It all started when she discovered that her husband had an affair for 2 years with his work colleague. She felt devastated and sickened. She took to controlling her food and became obsessed with staying thin and looking young. We came up with other solutions for them to connect and communicate and left it there. 3 months later, Barbara came to me saying that it was her 50th birthday last week and she couldn't eat her own birthday cake. Can you help me, Nicola? She asked. I love what you're doing, helping people to break free from emotional eating and emotional food control, and I don't want to spend the next 30 years or so of my life eating the same food. Absolutely, I replied, and we began working through the emotions beneath her controlling food behaviour, and together devised a strategy to support her to break free bit by bit, week by week, taking it slowly. We reduced her exercise to, instead of 15 hours a week, to 7. She ate out once a week, she varied her meals, and I was only an email and a text message away every step of her journey. Now she continues to eat healthily, but can enjoy social occasions far more, and be present, not worrying about food like she did before. She had a great time for her son's graduation recently, managing to eat fish and chips with everyone else, and is planning her father's 80th birthday party where she intends to enjoy the party food and some birthday cake. So the point I want to make about this is that change is possible if a loving approach is taken. Before I go into how to speak to a loved one with an eating disorder, here are some of the most common signs and behaviours associated with eating disorders. Common signs and behaviours associated with eating disorders, as I mentioned before, and I'll just run through them again, is dramatic or consistent weight loss or weight gain, eating large quantities of food in less than 2 hours, habitual trips to the bathroom immediately after eating, secretly binging on large amounts of food, rigid food control, refusing to eat food, types or whole groups of food consistently, increasing consumption of laxatives, diuretics or diet pills, hoarding large amounts of food, excessive exercising, hiding food, anxiety over food before eating and meal times, feeling guilty after eating, using prescription drugs or stimulants like Adderall or other drugs to suppress appetite, eating until cannot move, low mood, using food as a comfort or reward, isolating to eat, low self-esteem, lying about food, stealing food, huge unhappiness with body and weight. Mood is dependent on the amount eaten that day, repeatedly weighing oneself and tracking progress, repeatedly labelling oneself as fat or unattractive, withdrawal from friends and family, particularly following questions about eating disorder or the effects of their eating habits, whether they've lost a lot of weight or gained a lot of weight, avoidance of meals or situations where food may be present, preoccupation with weight, body size and shape or specific aspects of one's appearance, obsessing over calorie intake, calories burned via exercise, counting, analysing, tracking food and weight. If you're fairly confident that your loved one is suffering from an eating disorder, there are some things that you may want to consider. Pick whatever you feel will work best in your situation that I'm going to share with you today. And remember to get support or guidance yourself on behalf of your family member if you're feeling that things are getting out of control or spiralling downhill very fast. If you're fairly convinced your loved one has an eating disorder, a starting point is to simply sit down with them when you know there will be no interruptions and have a chat. Explain that you're concerned about them and start by asking them if they're okay. You don't need to comment on their weight to begin with, but just ask them how they are and see if you can get a general idea of what might be going on with them. If the subject of weight loss or weight gain does come up, be prepared for different reactions. A number of people get offended and often react angrily to comments about their weight or their eating patterns. This is often a defense to take the spotlight away from them, and they may attack you because they fear that you may take their control away. Make sure that they know how much you care about them and keep reminding them that you have their best interests at heart and try to talk things through. Another way people react is to be totally open about it and tell you something that you want to hear, almost as though they've been expecting you to say something. This is what I used to do, time and time again, when people asked me about my eating and weight. As over the years, so many well-meaning friends and family members, work colleagues as well, tried to talk to me about my thinness. They would ask me if I was okay. They would tell me to eat more. They would say they were concerned about me, and they would let me know that they were there for me. In fact, even complete strangers would give me advice on how to put on weight or what I needed to do to look healthier. The conversation went something like this: I'm really concerned about you. Is everything okay? If I felt they were talking to me from a place of love and care, which was most times, I would reply, yes, everything's okay. I know I need to put on weight, and I know I need to eat more, and I'm trying to do that. But I do find it hard, and I'm dealing with it in my own way. Basically, I'd say exactly what they wanted to hear. I'd admit I had a problem, but say I'm trying to deal with it on my own, in my own way. But really, I was either not ready to change my eating habits or didn't know actually how to stop the anxiety and guilt around food and stop the habits. Most people would be surprised at how at ease I made them feel talking to them about it, as I would totally agree with them. The problem was nothing changed. Then they would come up with a certain type of food for me to eat or plan. They would say things like, exercise less, eat more carbs, try not to be sick. You just need a little more fat on you. Do you like cheese? Have a bit more cheese and dairy. Do you need to eat more protein? Have some more meat. Just don't lose any more weight. Then the conversation was over. I've had over 500 conversations like this over the 20 plus years I've suffered from eating disorders. Maybe many more than that. Whilst I appreciated their love and concerns, it didn't help me because I needed solutions, a plan of action, a number or email of a coach or someone that could help me and tell me what to do. You see, it's one thing to know that you need to put on weight, but it's so difficult to do. because there's so much fear, so much guilt, so much anxiety, it makes it almost impossible. If they are open with you, it's a positive sign that they may be ready to change, but perhaps just don't know how to change. On the other hand, they could be telling you exactly what you want to hear so that you will just leave them alone. Based on what I've shared, I recommend this approach. 1. Ask them if they are ready and willing to address it. 2. Ask them if they would consider some help. 3. Ask them if there's anything else they need to change. 4. Give them some details of someone they can talk to, whether a professional or a close family member or friend that you strongly believe can help. This works not only for underweight, but also for a concerned person about their loved one's overweight and overeating patterns. If this does not work and you don't want to go enforceable with them, then there are several other options that you can consider. You can talk to their closest friend and family member. 2 is always better than 1. So having a confidential chat with their closest friend or family member may help them, may help you, because they may be able to help where you are unable to help reach them. It will also give you a greater insight, as others may confirm what you are thinking, and if so, then you can come up with a plan for helping them together. The other option is to work with a coach. If you tried talking to them and got nowhere, or don't have the right words to say, working with a coach or a therapist can be really beneficial. I've found in my own practice that when people have someone else to talk to who's not family, it can make the whole process so much easier, as they are free to say the truth and to get impartial advice from someone who has lived this. Also, when I support men and women to help their loved one, be it their partner, their children or friend, I always give the option that later down the line the sessions can be used by the person suffering when they purchase a package. This can then help the person with the eating disorder find it easier to get help, as they know it's already paid for. As one of the biggest hurdles in getting support for eating disorders is that the person suffering doesn't love themselves enough. Therefore, they don't love themselves enough to pay for support for themselves, if that makes sense. This is what held me back from getting the support that I needed. I didn't want to spend the money on myself, even though I was desperately unhappy, binging and being sick. I couldn't spend that money on myself. I didn't value myself enough to get free. And eating disorders need to be treated like any other illnesses. They need a treatment. They need a solution. They need some actions. They don't get better on their own. I mentioned Hans in the previous episode, who noticed that his wife secretly eating, running errands so she could stop by the store and eat in her car. He found sweets and chocolates hidden around the house. Working together, I helped him structure a calm conversation with his wife, where he voiced his concerns in a loving and supportive way. She has now lost the weight and dealt with the issues that led to her compulsively turn to food for comfort. They are now both enjoying hiking and cycling and have booked a trip to Mount Everest Base Camp next year, which neither of them ever thought possible before. If you'd like to schedule a free 15-minute consultation with me, then please email me and we can talk through what you're going through and practical suggestions on how you can help a family member or partner with an eating disorder. Another option can be to use movies and TV shows to open conversations around eating disorders. This can sometimes work well. Some husbands and wives and parents have used movies and TV to get their point across where they felt like they were not able to get through or too scared to bring up the conversation for fear of hurting the person or damaging their relationship with them. A movie or TV show where there are eating disorders woven into the story may support you to get the message across. Here are several movies that address eating disorders, and whilst I have yet to watch them all, downloading 1 or 2 might be worth considering. At the very least, it might just give you some insight into the disorders and help you figure out if your partner is going through something similar. For undereaters, a few worth watching are To the Bone, a 2017 American drama film that follows a girl named Ellen, Lily Collins, as she battles anorexia. It's harrowing at times and exposes the mindset behind anorexia. Then there's Kate's Secret, a 1986 television film about a seemingly perfect suburban housewife and mother who is secretly suffering from bulimia nervosa. For the Love and Nancy is another film based on a true story that deals with anorexia nervosa. Sharing the Secret is an American television drama film about a teenage girl's struggle with bulimia and its effect on her parents and friends. And lastly, A Perfect Body is a 1997 film drama about a young gymnast who develops an eating disorder. For overeaters, there are many reality TV shows that share stories from overweight people and their eating habits, from The Biggest Loser, Lose Weight Fast, Fat Club, Too Fat to Be 15, and various others. These movies and TV shows can be a talking point to open the conversation. I personally recommend only sharing ones with success stories, as you want to motivate them, not depress them. But that's my personal viewpoint. Do what feels right. And if you want a written version of these films, then go to my website, nicolabeer.com, go to the blog page, and you'll be able to get a complete list when you look at the article, How to Help a Loved One with an Eating Disorder. Remember that eating disorders are complex and complicated issues for all parties involved, not just the sufferer. To talk through any issues you or your loved ones are going through, please do email me and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions or to set up a quick chat so we can talk through them. As a former sufferer, I know what it is like, and I know how painful it is to suffer from an eating disorder. I also know what works and what doesn't work. And if I can leave you with one thought to reflect on, it would be that eating disorders often reflect something much deeper than food and weight, and are often linked to low self-esteem and self-hate. Whatever eating disorder your family member or partner has, what they really need most is to feel loved, appreciated, and accepted. Ideally, they need to love themselves and appreciate themselves, as the most people I've worked with eating disorders struggle to do that. You can help them to get to that place of self-love by showing them how much you respect them, how much you love them, how much you value them, and how much you find them attractive and beautiful. It's not an easy path, but with the right support, help and advice, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. I've created a free podcast show on various podcast platforms, including iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, to help people wanting to break free from food obsession and eating habits. It's called Emotions and Eating with Nicola Beer. Search Nicola Beer in the search engine for it to come up. You may also find this extremely helpful in either sharing it with them or in listening yourself to get ideas about just the gravity and the mindset of various people going through different eating disorders. Lastly, I just want to say that eating disorders are not only about the size of a person, they're about how they view themselves, how they treat their body, and how they feel before and after eating. Many people I have worked with look great on the outside, yet on the inside they are consumed with guilt, anxiety, and stress around food. They feel bad about eating and their eating habits, and this affects their self-esteem and overall enjoyment of life. I care so deeply about this, so do please reach out to me if you have any questions at all, and do check out the new podcast show, Emotions and Eating with Nicola Beer. From my heart to yours, have an awesome week ahead wherever you are. Can't wait for you to join me in the next podcast.
Thank you for listening to How to Save Your Marriage with Nicola Beer. To book your free Save My Marriage consultation, please visit www.savemymarriageprogram.com/consult. And if you've enjoyed this episode, Nicola would really appreciate it if you could leave a rating and review on whatever app you're listening through, so the show stays visible, allowing more people to get the support they need to increase their love, passion, and happiness.